Hello and welcome back to another video in the Complete Web Dev series. We are in Chapter 8. This will be Lesson 6. What we're doing is we are going to build a content management system using object-oriented programming. And what we're doing in this specific video is we're going to get our autoloader going, so we don't have to install or require in our classes one file at a time in every file that we need them. If you like this merch you see here, I got a Free Skills hat. You can get one of those too. I also got a Free Skills shirt on, and I do have a mug. And you can get that stuff at freeskills.life. All right, then let's go ahead and switch over to our camera or my screen here, and go to the terminal and make sure you have sudo opt lamp. Make sure your examp install is up and running. So now mine are, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to navigate to opt lamp, go to your htdocs folder, and then we are inside of CMS. And then I have main here, and so I had pushed in the last video, so if you haven't pushed yet, go ahead and do that. And I'll show you that at the end of this video. I won't forget this time, hopefully. But I'm going to go ahead and start a new branch. So this will be video 6. So if you get stuck anywhere in this video, go ahead and check out branch v6, and that will be where I leave off in this video. So I can do a git checkout -b, and then what I'm going to do is v6, and then that says I switched to the new branch v6. So if now that I've done that, if I do git push -u, it tells me that I need to set the upstream origin so that this is on the remote. So I'll do git push -- set upstream origin v6. Now when I push or pull or anything like that, it will work. I'm gonna go ahead and clear this, and then we will get started. So if you navigate to localhost /CMS, we're right here. There's nothing on this index page as of yet, and there won't be really after this video. But what we want to do is get to a place where we're loading our content. We're loading in our config file, and if we do that, we can assume that our autoloader is working. So up here underneath this session start, just to get this to work, what we want to do is we want to say use, and then we can do a /, and then we're going to say core /, and then we're going to say config, like that. And this /core, what it's doing is it's going to look for this namespace core right here, and then it's going to grab this config. But this won't work just quite yet. So what we want to be able to do here is let's go ahead and build our autoloader. And so what we can do here is we can do SPL, so that's standard PHP library, SPL _autoload _register. And then what this is going to do is this is going to take an anonymous function in here. So just type the word function, and then we're going to pass in a class name as a parameter there. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to put a semicolon at the end there, go inside these curly braces, and hit enter to give myself some space here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to get the parts of the class name. So we'll say parts is equal to, now we're going to use a PHP function called explode. And what this does is it takes a string and turns it into an array by some sort of iterator. So a comma separated list could be, the iterator would be a comma. In this case, we're going to have a / because these right here are going to be there, but we can't just use a / because that's an escape character. So we actually have to use a double /, which is equivalent to using one /. And then we're going to do a comma enter, and we're going to pass in class name. Now what's going to happen here is if I var dump, I'm going to var dump parts, and then down here below our autoloader, what we're going to do is we're going to call our config get, and then we'll do db name, like that. Hit save, and now if we go back to the deal here, we have let's see, we have this array here, and the parts here, there's two parts. There's a string core and the string config. Okay, and so we're going to use that to continue on. So underneath this parts here, we're going to get the class, and the class is going to be the end. So we'll use the end. Now remember here in this var dump, it was showing us this config. So this is the class we want to do. So we're going to do end, and then we're going to pass in the parts, which is going to get the last element of that parts array. So in this case, it'll be config. Then what we're going to do is we're going to remove that by doing an array pop, and that is parts. And then let's just, while we're here, let's go ahead now and refresh and see what we get. So now we only have one element, and core is what's left. And because of this pop, what this does is it, after we set the end to the class, and we don't need that anymore, so we remove it. The array pop removes the last element from the array. Okay, so now what we're going to do is build out our path from this, and we're going to say path is equal to string to lower, which is going to lowercase everything in the string, and then we're going to implode. Now implode is the opposite of explode. Implode is it takes an array and creates a string from that, and we give it the delimiter to build it. So we're going to use our ds, which is our directory separator right here, as our delimiter. And then we're going to go ahead and pass in parts as our second deal there. So now what we're going to do is let's just go ahead and var dump path, and let's see what we got there. So we just got core. And so that core gets us the beginning part of this namespace. So let's continue on now, and what we need to get the full path. So the full path is going to be our p root. We're going to concatenate on with the concatenation deal there, and then we'll do ds, and then we're going to concatenate on our path that we had from this last line, which gets us the beginning part here of the namespace of the class. Then what we're going to do is we're going to concatenate on another directory separator, and then we're going to concatenate on the class name that we pulled out of it earlier. And then the last thing is these are all going to be PHP files, so we're going to concatenate on a .php at the end of that. So now if we go and var dump this, what we have is a full path to that class name. So we have opt lamp htdocs cms core config.php. Now what's really cool about this is now we just need to check if that exists. So we'll say if path and then we'll include path like this. And what we could do is we could even say if file underscore exists, which is a PHP function. This is going to check if file exists, and if that string, so remember we have this, if that whole thing exists as a file, then we're going to include it. Now we're not going to need, we won't need, well let's just go back and refresh and see if we still have a fatal error. And now it's blank, so no news is good news probably there. So now what we can do is down here, we will just set db name equal to this, and then we will var dump db name like that. And now if I go back and refresh, we have CMS as our DB name. Now why is it CBS? Well, if you go back to config here, we're using this config get, and then we typed in DB name, and it's returning this value right here. So this part's pretty easy. This is how we're going to use our config. Now we know, because of this is running, we know that this auto load is working as it should. So I know this is a little bit complex, but basically what's happening here is this class name gets passed in, and it's going to be, because of this use statement at the top of the file here, it's going to be this full /core /config. And then what we're going to do is we're going to explode that into an array by this /. So this core will be the first element in the array. Config will be the next element in the array. Then what we're going to do is we want to get the class name. Well, the last thing in this string of that array is going to be config. So that's the name of the class. So we can use the end, which is a built-in PHP function, to get the last element of that array. And we set it to a variable called class. Then we removed this from this whole string because we don't need that anymore. And then we started building out our full path. Now the first step of this was to lowercase everything because all of our directories are going to be all lowercase. We need to keep that in mind. And then what we do is we take our p root, which is the project directory, and we put these directory separator in, which is a /, and then our path, which will in this case would be this core, and then another directory separator, and then our class, which is config, and then .php, which here. So this gets us the full path to this config file right here. Then what it's doing is saying, hey, if this file actually exists, which file exists as a built-in PHP, and we pass that full path to it, if that exists, just include it. So now any class that we want to use in our project will be auto-loaded in through this autoload register. It's a kind of a magic little function that we had to build out, but we just have to basically build out the path and tell it to include it. So now that we have that, we can just freely use classes as long as we have the namespace defined in those classes, like right here. And then when we use them in a file, we just say use core config. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, but that is the autoloader. I think we'll just leave it there with this video because it's kind of complex. But just make sure you get your autoloader running. We're not going to need to deal with this anymore other than our use statements here and our namespaces that we're going to put at the top of each one of our class files. All right, so I hope that helps, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.